Hello everybody, it's me Teddy here, back with another software configuration class that will be my CEN-4802C class. And specifically, we've been tasked with this assignment integrating a profiler into our already established workflow. Discuss like what profilers are, what the importance is of, why we use that in software development field. Yeah. So before we get started, I just want to quickly go over the code. We have used this code before. Specifically, this is our Digimon data battle code that we had used before. And the reason why I actually came up with the thought of using my data battle program for it is because for my software development 2 class, we actually use that. If you look at my other videos, you can remember us actually doing a profiler within IntelliJ that showed flame graphs on like how the app was performing, while it ran. But we are going to be integrating VisualVM 2.2 for this one. So in order for us to do that, we had to make some. First, before we even get to the changes, I just want to talk about real quick. Jump the shark here. A little bit of like what is dynamic profiling. Essentially, it is the analysis of a program's performance while it is running. Unlike static analysis, which typically just reads code. This one measures like how the program would perform in a real world setting. If you were to deploy it as an example. And exactly what this does is it allows us to root out exact issues of performance problems. I've worked in, a data, I would say a data heavy role as a data analyst, and I work closely with DevOps, and they use similar tools to identify memory leaks, CPU bottlenecks, etc. And they use tools like these to identify, specifically where those are coming from. That way they could kill a particular process. If it's causing it too long, maybe we can restart the process over again, see if it hitches again. Then we could proceed from there. But tools like that essentially help us identify those problems, versus like just trying to understand, a log on, that's generated when a code may or may not compile. Okay, so now in order to get back to where we were, excuse me one second, fix my hair. Ignore me. Uh, so essentially, in order for us to essentially introduce VisualVM to the Digimon data battle code, I had to make two fundamental changes that were very much necessary. The first one is I had to increase the amount of load that the program essentially handles. I had originally upped it to 20 million, just so I can test the functionality of my code, ensured everything worked properly. And then, as you can see here, I upped that from there to 50 million. And the reason why I upped it up to 50 million is because by the time that the processing completed, it would actually stay up there long enough for me to pull up, the process's information here in VisualVM. So, yeah, because when I ran it at 20,000, I was like, or 20 million, this should be enough. And surprisingly not. It would appear, and then poof, it would be done and would disappear. So I wanted to make sure I had enough processing time to go ahead and run that for you guys. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start by compiling our code. And I did test this prior. And I put this inter in here as well. This is another thing that I added in along with changing the 50 million data packets, is to add that manual pause. And that allows us over here to see the process. And what I'm going to do here is make sure we're snapped in fully properly. Boop, boop. I'm gonna go over to our monitor, and if you can't see right here, these 4 little charts here show us how the app is performing. Since it's not processing anything, it's very stable, very baseline, but let's go ahead and see what happens when I hit enter. Notice it's starting to spike. That plateau is finally completed. What's going on? We can use it to determine what is the processes that are exactly taking the longest. You can see the drops, or rather the spikes here in CPU percentage that show you. You can also see here massive spike and then a massive drop off. And then as you can see here, now that it's done, there's no more processing, and if I were, say, to close out of this process would then essentially disappear. So I'm going to keep this open here for a second. But basically, yeah, as you can see here from both the left and the right side, clearly the bottleneck came in when we did the linked list. It ran by far absolutely the longest time, and we can see that here because it has such a crazy gap between that and the next one, which was Patamon's hash table here. But let's say those numbers were high, but they were still very similar, and maybe the issue is causing a memory leak. Well, then all of these would be high, and then we would see that information in here, and we can use it to track different things like CPU. We can, exclude out any, unnecessary information. Let's say we only want to see the CPU processing of it and how much CPU it's taking up. We take it over here. We go and see how much memory is being used up, even at peak performance. You can even further zoom it out, I'm assuming. But yeah, that is me adding VisualVM to my processes. I think moving forward, I think it's very important for me to incorporate a tool like this. Because one of the big problems I've been coming across lately while creating, work for my assignments has been that the process is working properly, but it gets hung up somewhere. And I personally believe that, this would be a good way for me to be able to determine where specifically it's getting hung up. Maybe it's, a reference that's, just eating up a lot of memory because it's like reference itself over and over and over and over again. Maybe it's a situation where the programming I'm asking it to do is too much for my own personal computer to handle. So maybe it's going to drag on my CPU and bog down my performance, etc. I do believe tools like this are necessary, and I do think that this is a great tool for me to integrate moving forward, not just for this project, but just for any project that I make if I get bored or anything like that. I am curious about data. I used to do it for a living, so it is interesting to see, what programming you can really do and, how much it can push your system. And sometimes even small lines of code, can really push your system if it's not optimized enough. One of the things I ran into with an assignment that I just recently turned in was an unoptimized SQL query. And then that caused my database to crash. So my web page would get hung up because it would try to load this database that would continuously crash due to unoptimized SQL code. So I feel like having a tool like this will allow me to see, in that processes where it's getting hung up, so I can, then address the unoptimized SQL query. But yeah, that's my integration of VisualVM 2.2 into my process. Anywho, thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a great night. Ciao, matane.